We're talking about electric camper vans, and we've just had a brilliant session in the Advice Centre talking about the future of them. It's coming in 2035. All new vans and cars will be electric. They have to be non-fossil fuel. It's a government mandate. It's called the ZEV mandate. And you're fearful of this change, aren't you?
I'm not fearful. I've just not had a great experience with electric vehicles.
What was your experience?
Well, I had one recently, and I had it for a couple of weeks. Went to try and charge it. First time, the app didn't work. Second time, I had to download a new app, and I stood in the rain watching the clock going round on my phone. Eventually got in the car to get out the rain. Still the clock's going round on my phone. I gave up. I went to a brand new Shell petrol station where they got these latest chargers, got it to work, but I had to sit there for 45 minutes rather than 5 minutes with the pump. And then when I take the charger out, expecting it to say you've spent £40, 57 pence or whatever, it doesn't tell me. I've no idea what it cost me, whether it was cheaper or dearer than...
But to be fair, that wasn't really the fault of the electric vehicle, that was the fault of the app. Was it not?
Well, it's the whole charging system.
Okay, yeah, so you had a bad experience.
Yeah.
Which is not great. Now, we're here, as you say, at the National Motorhome Campervan Show, and we have got one of the world's, or the UK's first Chinese vans here at the show from a company in China called Farizon. And I've got my good friend Paul Kirby to bring along. Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Peter, good to see you.
Now, Paul, you're the electric van man.
Yes.
And you are a huge influencer in the world of electric vans. Now, Peter's had a bad experience charging an e-car, and I'm new to the whole thing too. I'm really excited about this change. Peter is less so. That's an understatement. But I want you to hear our challenges as an industry, because it feels like we're being railroaded into this change, a ZEV mandate, and where new diesel vans won't be available to our industry to make the motorhomes and camper vans we love.
Yeah.
We have all those obvious elephant in the room issues of range and the ability to charge it. Peter's experience is probably not alone. It's not the first time.
No.
Peter, what's your view of our industry in terms of manufacturers adopting and getting ready for this change?
I think it's a bit of a chicken and egg, because even with hybrids, which you'd think might be a stepping stone, I asked one of the manufacturers, they offered it on the price list at the October show, how many hybrids did you sell? None. So we're going to take it off the price list.
Yeah.
Electric camper vans, well, you try and find one here, there isn't one.
Yeah, it's very true, there isn't a single e-van, not even the Buzz.
People dabbled with the E version of the NV200, that's a van you can't buy anymore. And nobody seems to be even looking for a replacement for that.
And I agree that the manufacturers have to take this sector seriously. They used to, and then the pandemic came along. We know that chassis got taken away, the vehicles that you would build on for a motorhome. And back in my day, in the early days working with Mercedes-Benz, this was an important sector. And I think that has been lost a little bit over time. What we have today is a number of vehicles that can do a job. I completely agree that the ecosystem around an electric van has to work, and it has to work for everybody. And if we've got apps that don't work, and if we've got charge points that don't work, and payment systems that don't work, we've got a problem. And these are problems that we've got to solve. What I'm here to say really is that the industry generally is aware of your experience and is aware that people will arrive at a charge point and it doesn't work, or the payment system doesn't work, or the vehicle doesn't suit a particular use case, and that's really important.
But how do we progress this? Because the Swifts, Baileys, Heimers, Adrias of this world are not going to invest in building electric camper vans if the buyers aren't interested in buying them.
And I agree with you, but what I will say is that if we get the right use case and the right vehicle that's fit for the purpose of camper vanning, then you're going to get people buying them. We've just been with this vehicle today, and for the talk inside, lots of positivity around the hope that they will work, because we want to be in an environment like this where we're not putting out diesel fumes, we're enjoying the silence of the countryside, but we're being kept warm by an electric heater. We're electrifying all of the functionality within the campervans today. Well, why not electrify the drivetrain as well? If we can make it work and make it fit for purpose for the use case. Now, it's not for everybody today, but it is for some today, and it'll be for some more tomorrow, and the pace of change being what it is, it will be for everybody in due course, but we've got to get there.
Well, we're very honoured, aren't we, to have this here, the first one in the UK from China. And thank you for bringing it. Can we have a look inside? I want you to open the doors and show us the first quirky feature.
This is the first quirky feature, and you know, this is, Peter, we're trying to give you some hope for your industry, a little bit. So, side sliding door. First of all, it's quite big.
A ding door?
A ding door.
As opposed to a sliding door.
Yes, yeah. So, first of all, it's quite large, but then it is made all the larger by the removal of a B-pillar. Now, obviously, as you convert it to a camper, you would get rid of all of this, and none of that is structurally important, so that can all go. The structure is all done in the outside edge and the roof of the vehicle, and so from a safety perspective, it's Euro NCAP Platinum rated. So even without this element, you know, it's got the strength here, the seatbelt is here, it's out of the way, and you can then enjoy all this glorious countryside.
That is very appealing. I mean, I regularly sit in this seat in our van conversion.
Doing nothing,
drinking wine.
You're drinking wine. Yeah.
He's obviously got the missus well trained.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this B-pillar blocks my view.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we love having a van conversion is this sliding door. The fact we've got this big open vista. In a coach built, I've had a lot, as you know, you get a very narrow door and you kind of shut the world out. Even with the door open, you are still trapped inside. A van means you're bringing the outside in. This is amazing.
It's like bifold doors.
It's incredible.
On your house, bifold doors.
Okay, this is a novelty, but our market is very conservative.
Yes.
If I was to bring a camper van here based on, I don't know, a Hyundai van, people wouldn't buy it because they go, oh, everything's based on Fiats, Peugeots, Mercedes, that sort of thing. So they won't even have heard of Farizon.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there anything else about this that's better than Ford, Volkswagen, Mercedes electric vans?
So from an electric van perspective, I would argue yes. So Ford have already built into the back the ability to take power off, so plugs. So we've got 3 plugs instead of 2. So and 3.3 kilowatts instead of 2.4. You've got a 106 kilowatt hour battery in this vehicle. The Ford Best is 89 kilowatt hour battery. You can charge this at 140 kilowatts. Now Ford can charge quite quickly up to 180. In terms of, I mean, Ford is a good van, and their extended range vehicle is actually a really good van. So, but this comes with everything that you would expect to get from any van, and a little bit more, and good solid range. The warranties are everything you would expect. The technology in the front of the vehicle is everything you would expect, and at a price that is reasonable also. Because when you go to the bigger and extended range vehicles of the European manufacturers, the price starts to creep up north of 60 and 70,000. Whereas
just for a van?
Yeah, just for the van. Forget the conversion. So 57,000 for this, and 52,000 after the grant. So, you know, with all the spec on it that you've got.
Which is very comparable to a diesel equivalent retail, isn't it? They're 50k.
Retail, for sure.
Now, you mentioned range, and that's the big elephant in the room in this topic, isn't it? So what could we realistically expect, not just as an empty van like this, but once it's converted?
Once it's converted, you would expect, so the standard official range is 220 miles for this vehicle with the roof height and the length and the battery size. So 220 miles. That's usually measured with around about half of its payload, and this currently has 1,000 kilos payload, 1,075. You would take 500 of those, and then so you'd lose another 10%. So you'd be down to around about 190. And then I think you'd lose a little bit more for real worldness. And so you're probably looking at 170, 180, depending on how you drive. Now the biggest variance, of course, is the right foot, how we drive as human beings. But weather plays a part, wind plays a part, as it is here today. All of those things impact. So
You say the driver's right foot makes more difference than the weather, because I've talked to people that live in cold countries and they say the range is terrible in the winter. Is that less of a factor then?
was true.
Right.
Now the vehicles are coming with what they call heat pumps. So that they pump heat around the vehicle through gel or fluid or whatever, pump that around the battery of the vehicle, and that keeps the battery in a more optimal temperature. Can't deal with all the variances, but both heat and cold both affect a battery unprotected.
So I'm still going to be able to go away in my camper in December?
Absolutely, yes. You're not suddenly going to drop to less than 100 miles range. No, but it will impact slightly, and it also impacts slightly the charging speed as well. So, you know, whereas you might be able to get in normal temperatures 10 to 80% in 35 minutes or so, it might take 45 minutes because it's cold and electricity travels differently in cold temperatures. I mean, these things are very variable and it'll depend on the technology being used, but all it means is that you've got to take every number that's ever pumped out by the manufacturer with a pinch of salt.
We're used to that.
Yes, this is it, right? And then work it out for yourself. The best way to do is to experience it, which is the real challenge that we've got, because we don't have demos of these flying around. To your point earlier about the manufacturers of the converted vehicles being able to give somebody a vehicle to go and try and test. We need to test these vehicles converted in the real world, doing real campervan stuff, so that everybody can get a confident approach to the vehicle
and get educated. And you said it's all about education. We need educating. We want to educate you on our niche, because the decisions you're making for fleet are going to have a big impact on our little pastime of going away in that same van, but as a camper van or a motorhome. So it's really important that we're all clued up on this.
I think if you give somebody the choice, I'm just taking Ford Transit as an example, but you know, you can have that as a diesel, a hybrid, or an electric one. People go, I'll have the diesel one because that's what they know. But this, you can't have a diesel, so we need somebody to convert this and make it look like a nice camper van, and then see where we go from there.
You've thrown the gauntlet.
Yeah, so if you're listening, come on, come and talk to me. Let's get one done.
Do it, please do it. And keep us on your radar. We're a passionate bunch of people.
Maybe next year we'll have the campervan version.
Let's hope so.
Now you're talking.
That is a gauntlet down, isn't it?
You just want a free holiday.
Hey, I'm testing it first on the North Coast 500.
Good luck.